Well, for more insights into this topic, we're joined by Stephen Perry, chairman of the 48 Group Club. He's also attending the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing. So, Stephen, let's start with a look at the expectations for the forum. What are you expecting?
Well, I think this is breakthrough time. I think this is when, particularly, let me focus on the Europeans and the Americans. They're beginning to grasp what this is about. They're beginning to grasp this is the greatest opportunity for growth for the rest of the century, and they want to work out how to engage with it. It's a good time.
Now, this is both an economic and a cultural initiative to really make the world more interconnected and more inclusive. Why do you think it's so important to have that dual purpose?
Well, if you go back to America in the 1850s, the railroads or the autobahns in Germany, putting in the infrastructure to open up the areas is key to opening up the economic opportunity. The economic opportunity brings the people in connection with each other, and that produces the cultural and economic opportunity for the people. Without growth, without people-to-people contact, the world would tend to stagnate. I think it's a great opportunity for all of us.
And it definitely comes down to people at the end of the day. So if you're a business owner or a business leader, someone trying to see where you fit in to the Belt and Road Initiative, how should you be preparing for this?
Well, I think that it's a matter of understanding the timings and the phasings that are involved, but just getting to know the concept of this huge development to bring contact between the Pacific and the Atlantic by land and down through the Middle East into Africa, right through the African continent. To link all that together into one connected area is a phenomenal objective. But it gives people the opportunity to look at the map of the world and understand the opportunities that will exist in areas that so far are uninhabited. You take a plane from Beijing to London, the first 6-7 hours of the flight, everything below you is relatively uninhabited. That's all going to be transformed over the next 20, 30, 40 years. But first you have to lay the infrastructure.
Now let's start with that, talking about the infrastructure. Tell us about some of the key projects that we've seen so far.
Well, you know, if people can access some of the maps of what's already been contracted and what's already under construction, you'll see that the maritime route from the Chinese East Coast through the Indian Ocean through to Africa is already quite advanced, with several new ports being built in Pakistan, Djibouti, Kenya, for example. And then if you look at the land, the train routes are being developed through Russia, through Mongolia, and are being looked at down through the south, through Kazakhstan, Iran and Turkey into Europe. So the things are moving, and you know, if you look at the German car companies, where do they see the next big market for their cars is in Central Asia, because that's where the new roads are going. So the opportunities are phenomenal.
And what about the economic impact we're seeing from the initiative? What have we seen so far?
We're seeing the beginnings of the economic effect. We're not seeing, you know, major up moves of economic growth as yet. What we're seeing is the funding being put in place to develop the great infrastructure projects. They will take 5 to 10 years to develop, but it doesn't mean nothing is happening during that. I remember I was involved in building the Globe Theatre in London, and people were fascinated watching the foundations get built and the theatre begin to emerge. This emergence of Central Asia as a thriving centre of commerce is something that people are going to be interested to go look at. I would say to young people all over the world, get moving, get on the trains, get on the buses, go and look at Central Asia. It's just fascinating.
And we certainly see that the US is getting on that bandwagon. We see that they're sending a delegation to the Belt and Road Summit.
Yeah.
What do you think is the significance of that?
Well, you know, I was involved in the first deals between China and America back in '72. Ages me a bit, doesn't it? And I've been trying for 45 years to open the market in China for US beef. It's an incredible deal that they've just done. Not in the sheer scale of it, but the fact that both countries have opened each other's markets to chickens and beef. That represents a real move forward in the thinking on both sides in this great chess game between America and China of finding a relationship that brings out the positives and controls the negatives. It's an amazing achievement in just, what, 1 month since the two heads of state met. It's great for the world. If America can participate in the Belt and Road and get benefits from it and growth from it, and they can feel comfortable with the geopolitical implications of it all, well, we're all looking for a better time. And if Europe itself can look outside of Europe to the east for some of its growth potential, again, a great opportunity.